Okay, so we're here in the Workman's Club with O Emperor, whose new album Vitreous came out over the summer, and you also did a 2-week European tour. So how was that? Do either of you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it was good fun. We've been to Germany a couple of times now, so it's it's nice. We're kind of slowly gathering a following over there, and we played. Went to France for the first time, and back to the UK as well. So it was a nice kind of working holiday.
Well, you got rave reviews from both the British, Irish, and the German. I think also loved your album. So, is it nice to be getting a lot of good press going around?
Yeah, and everyone likes kind of praise. But yeah, it's been really positive, and it's nice to get get the name out there more. Outside of Ireland as well, and it's been really cool.
So going into the future, you recently played with MGMT, didn't you, down in Cork for the Murphys' Big Little Night Out?
Yeah.
And is there any particular sort of band who was, who you'd really love to work for, who was a big influence on your music?
We're big fans of MGMT, and it was cool to play with them and to see their show. I guess their producer Dave Friedman works with bands like Tame Impala and Flaming Lips and Mercury Rev. So we like all that kind of posse of bands. They're all cool.
So would either of you like to just sort of explain to people who'll be on our website, what kind of genre you guys are? I mean, how would you define yourselves?
It's always very difficult to put your finger on it, but this album is kind of different to the last one. I suppose it's kind of, there's an element of kind of psychedelic influence there, and like what Paul was saying, some of the influence of bands like Tame Impala and Flaming Lips. So there's a bit of that psychedelic thing going on. But I suppose a lot of the stuff we'd be influenced by is kind of older stuff from the 60s and 70s. And I think there's even little bits of kind of krautrock influence. We're listening to a lot of that stuff. So it's kind of, there's those elements in there, and then hopefully something else comes out of it, but it's kind of hard to tell when you're on this side of it. But those are the kinds of things that are going on anyway.
Well, you guys have a very new sort of unique sound, because it's been 3 years since your first album. It came out in 2010, Hither Thither.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of people have been commenting on there's a big contrast between the two albums, like your sound is a little bit different. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel that's just kind of the way the band is developed? I mean, I know you produced this album all yourselves, didn't you?
Yeah, kind of naturally, kind of just you kind of gain more influences. We started listening to, like Phil said, more kind of some kind of krautrock and like kind of 80s Bowie and Brian Eno and stuff, and just we by producing it and recording it yourself, you've got a lot of time to, you kind of get bored of kind of just maybe doing the traditional kind of record a band. You want to just try out different sounds and different things, so that kind of led to just progression, I guess. Just trying different sounds, making it kind of more color, more kind of dynamics, just messing around with things.
And how did you find it, sort of recording it and producing it yourselves? Like, did one of you in particular kind of take the lead and have to be the drill sergeant? Was it difficult to keep focused, not having the one person in charge?
I don't think there wasn't really any one person, but it was nice to have a few of us, because the studio was only down the road. So if one person kind of didn't feel like it, somebody could always go down, and even if there's just two people, to go down and keep things going. And oftentimes, like, actually just when there's two people, a lot of stuff gets done. When you've got 5 people there trying to work on something, it can very often be like a case of too many cooks. But like we kind of switched around between us, and somebody would always be down there anyway every day working away on something. But it was kind of nice to not be pressurized to do it, but just to be doing it kind of, and as Paul said, have the time to play around with it. So we probably did give ourselves too much time in the end, but that's how, never any harm. Better be looking at it than for it, as they say. But yeah, I can't remember your question, but I just said some things anyway.
And you guys have been sort of together as a band for quite a while now. You guys knew each other growing up, didn't you, most of the members of the band? I mean, do you think that's had an influence on how your music has developed and how the dynamic in the band has developed?
Yeah, I think I think on this album there's a bit more of a kind of carefree kind of just a bit of messing kind of going on in the record, and that probably boils down to the fact that we're kind of friends from school, and kind of what Phil was touching on, when everyone's down there, it kind of ends up turning into a bit of a mess. Like we just kind of start, you know, taking the piss with things, and you know, end up writing maybe a couple of comedy songs and forget what we were actually down there doing. So I think there's a bit of kind of humour and a bit of kind of tongue-in-cheek about this album that has kind of gone into it.
Some of the things that were supposed to start out as jokes kind of ended up on the album, so we kind of, you know, once they're there long enough, it kind of sticks. So that was nice though as well, kind of private jokes that are immortalised on record. So
we came very close to putting a lot of sax on the record, because one of our mates plays sax, and we got him in for a couple of, like, to play on some tunes, and it came very close. Like, we were kind of, I guess, kind of enjoying it for the self-indulgence of it, but then realised maybe we should kind of rein back in that kind of stuff.
That's really good. You can definitely tell when you listen to the album there is an awful lot of sort of life to it, and it does definitely have that kind of, you do get kind of an idea of you guys as sort of as a group of friends. Do you have, you know, having come from being sort of a young group of friends that got into music together, I mean, do you have any recommendations for sort of young people who might be, you know, in those early stages?
Yeah, I guess just to try and just record as early as possible, even if it's just, you know, just jams or demos. I think it kind of takes on a good life when you can start to hear something back, even if it's just on a dictaphone. You start to kind of get ideas, and you can kind of see it from maybe an outside perspective. If you kind of record something and leave it and then come back to it, you might kind of realize that there's something there that you may have missed, or there's something good that you can take from it. And always just kind of document ideas, and you know, just get a cheap microphone and just start recording.
That's great. So we're actually in the Workman's Club now. Are you guys sort of getting a bit of a vibe, getting excited for when you're going to play here at the end of November?
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's we haven't played, well, we played back in June, so yeah, we're looking forward to coming back here and playing. It's always a good show.
Like you said, you're influenced by a lot of sort of 60s music. I think we've got a pretty good setting for that here at the moment.
Yeah.
So
excellent wallpaper, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys are going to play a song for us now. Are you going to play something from the first album or something from the new album?
Yeah, we're going to do a new one. It's called Holy Fool. So.
Alright, great. So I'm going to let you guys get started with that.
Time to spend to care.